There we go. Everybody, welcome to another episode of the Women Petpreneurs Podcast with your host, Mary O'Quendell. My guest today is Michelle Knowles, who I absolutely adore. Thank you, Michelle, for taking time out of your day for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
So there's so much. Michelle and I were discussing all the things we wanted to discuss, and we're like, shut up, we need to discuss this on air.
Definitely.
So there was a lot of things that I wanted to talk to Michelle about. So I'm going to start off first with the difference between esthetician and esthetician.
Okay, perfect. I get that question a lot. They're spelled differently. There's esthetician with an E, and then there's esthetician with an A. And they both have different designations about what they cover. So if you go to a pet esthetician with an E, then you're going to someone who is trained to do esthetician work in the salon environment. And when you want to do medical esthetician work with actual skin issues, conditions, and veterinarians, then we ask you to become a master esthetician or an esthetician with an A, which is the designation of a medical veterinary environment. So that's the difference between those two. So you will see them used interchangeably by people who don't know those definitions, but that's what
I thought they were pronounced different.
No.
And I'm like, well, what's the difference between those two? All right, that's good to know. That's good information. I did not know. I mean, I knew the one with the A was more in depth.
Yes.
Having that terminology, which will bring us sliding right into the next topic, terminology in our industry.
Absolutely.
Okay. Because I consider myself fairly well versed in it, but I was confused about esthetician with an E and esthetician with an A.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So a quick little story, right? So this will air after the Johnny Devaney episode for Traveling Groomers, in which he was telling us a term that he was using and he thought was a grooming term, okay? And had never heard it before. And at first I thought he was saying wheelie because it was referring to the top knot of a Shih Tzu, you know, with the little
like show top knot.
Yeah, the little show. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, it can spin around a little bit. But no, he was calling it a whale tail.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But he thought that's what the term was.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So told him in like 2 years from now, there's going to be a post in one of the forums, and it's going to be a panicked groomer going, the owner said to put a whale tail on my Shih Tzu. Tail.
That's hilarious.
All right.
It's bad enough with puppy cut, okay?
Bad enough with puppy cut, okay? But I've had weird requests. I had someone ask, well, put the sailor clip on, and I'm like, what?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I have no idea what a sailor clip is. Please, do you have a photograph?
Right.
Okay, of what it is you want, okay? I've also had a client that, because clients don't know what it is we do, and they also have trouble with measurements, okay?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I had this little Maltese mix who got the whale tail, and that's it, okay? Mm-hmm. Shaved naked every 6 weeks.
With this giant head with a giant...
Yeah.
Okay.
And a bow.
Oh, nice. Nice touch.
And every 6 weeks, the conversation went like this. Could you leave 2 inches of hair on her this time? Now, mind you, 6 weeks ago, she was shaved naked, and at best, she has a ½ inch at best, okay? I would say, hold up my fingers and go, this is about 2 inches? Yes. And I would take her fingers and I would move them over to her dog.
Right.
Say that there's not even 2 inches. And then she would go, oh, do whatever you did last time.
Nice.
Every 6 weeks, it was the same exact conversation.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Until the day that dog died. So we're talking quite a long period of time.
Well, I think when we're talking about terminology, it is important to no terminology. There is a grooming industry terminology, and then there's our like medical designated terminology that we should be familiar with. I'm not saying that everybody should know every term and only speak those terms. I mean, we're speaking to lay people of our industry, our clients, and sometimes you just have to interpret that. Some people are more sciencey than others, so I usually use the correct terminology with those. I get some doctors, nurses, people in the medical field that appreciate me using correct terminology, but most of the time we're speaking to lay people who just wants little honey foo-foo's bum trimmed, that's it. Like, that's who they are. I'm not going to be mean with them, but as industry professionals, I really do believe that it is our responsibility to know those terms as much as possible. I'm not huge in the show area of our industry, so I don't know a lot of show terms, but I certainly know my anatomy. I know the names of the hair. I know the names of, the anatomy that I need to know. So, there's always something to learn, but I think correct terminology is important because now we're so global. Our industry is global. And in order for me, and we have clients that move, travel abroad with their pets, go everywhere. So if I'm using a term, an American term, I should be able to use the general terminology. And then when they go to France and talk to their groomer there, she knows exactly what's going to happen. She knows exactly what those terms mean. So I do believe standardization within the industry terminology is very important. So then we're not asking for whale tails.
Yeah. So, yes, that would be really nice, because back when I worked corporate and we had the cards, so we're going back to the Stone Age. This is back before the internet, people. Okay. So we had the cards and written the instructions in it. If the handwriting wasn't really clear, there could be mistakes made there. So I love digital formats for anything. So you can type in exactly what it is. All right. So when I would have pets that would get different blades in different parts of the body, it would be like 2 clip-on the body, blend into a 0 on the legs. That's really clear. Okay. Especially using the word 0 clip-on. Okay. You can get even a little bit more with the specific brand name too for the clip-on. In case there's minuscule differences between companies. But anyway, having detailed rather than making up a name for it. Okay. Because, oh yeah, she looks like a little sailor.
I want the sailor clip again.
Okay, now I don't know what I still don't know what she meant, because she didn't have a picture and she's trying to describe it. I'm like, all right, why don't we just do this? You can tell me if you like it, and if not, we can tweak it. Okay. And that was a long time ago. I can't even tell you how well that came out or didn't come out. I don't know. All right. But taking pictures of your clients. So when I have a client that moved, I would take a photograph of the pet freshly groomed and how I achieved it. And then I would text that over to her so she'd have it on her phone. Okay. You show this to your groomer, your new groomer. If she has any questions, please contact me and I will help you out. I will help you out. Okay. She wants to do the shampoo I use. I would generally just put the clip on it because I don't know what another groomer likes for their products based on their water or whatever.
Right.
So make it easy for your fellow professionals. Stop putting cutesy names on it that have absolutely no meaning to them or have meaning to you. And it might even be a regional thing. Okay. That makes sense for the region in which you're living in and makes no sense to somebody living 1,000 miles to the west.
Exactly. I was raised up to name a breed cocker trim on a Lhasa. It was named a Spanky because that was that dog's name. And it blew me away. That was my very first salon job back in the day with cavemen. And then when I left that salon and went somewhere else, I'm like, oh, he wants a Spanky. And they looked at me like I was crazy. But which leads into a post I had in one of the groups. Normalize calling the groomer of the dog that did the
Yeah.
dog last. That you pick up the phone. We all would be happy to tell you how we achieved her trim instead of making the client, our mutual client, upset or saying, well, she did her best. Why not just say, hey, I'm going to call Mary up and see what she did on this dog last. Call her up, send an email. You have a computer. Why don't you look up where Mary is and ask her what she did to the dog last? Normalize calling the groomer, normalize giving the client the instructions and a picture like Mary was saying. Normalize that. That way we all are on the same page and it's not, oh, well, she's kind of fly by night or he can't do the job or whatever. Well, maybe he could have if you had given them those instructions.
Yeah.
So.
All right, because you know what, when an owner gets used to you and the way you groom, and then you take your dog or your cat to another groomer, okay? They may have a different style, all right? So it cut them some slack, all right? Because I'll look at a pet and think, well, I'm doing this because, I'm a prima donna mobile groomer and this is what we do. And with not having specific instructions, but, be nice. I would say
Absolutely.
be nice, call them. All right. If you know what, maybe they're busy during the day. All right. Email them, send them a text message. All right. If you're getting someone new coming in, all right, maybe a question you ask for this. Are you new to the area? Right? Who is your last groomer? Can we call your last groomer to find?
Absolutely. That's great. Say, hey, I've got little Spanky on the table, or she's coming in next Wednesday. And I just want to talk to you a little bit about the trim. Because I know when the snowbirds leave and she comes back to you, I don't want her all butchered for you. I'd like to do a nice trim that you can work with when you get her back. Or whatever, whatever the scenario is.
We did a fair amount of snowbirds too. Mine all went down to Florida. I think, I think under one circumstance, did someone actually take me up on the offer and call me?
Right. Yeah.
So
So maybe we ought to normalize absolutely giving pictures and instructions to the pet parent anyway.
yes.
Just as a matter of course, so they have that. I gave the instructions and pictures to one of my very good clients, and she went to go visit her sister states away. She didn't even hand him the paper. So there's always that too. She didn't even give him the instructions. So they just did what they could, So there, you do have that too. The clients are not being compliant with your instructions.
Yeah. And then in conversation, what, did I not give you the photograph? Did I not give you the instructions?
Exactly.
So whose fault is this?
I even asked her when she came back, I'm like, well, didn't you give him the instructions? She goes, oh, the instructions were on that paper. And I'm like, what?
No, don't play that with me.
Right.
We had this conversation.
Right. So silly.
All right. So you set up something called the Master Council.
Yes. Master Groomer Council of Best Practices.
So tell us a little bit about that.
So I set up the Master Council of Best Practices, Master Groomer Council of Best Practices, because there was a need in our industry to standardize what we do and what we go off of. I think a lot of people were shy or afraid of these standards. They're like, well, how are we going to enforce them? It's not up to us to enforce them, but there should be a body of standards that we go, should I pluck an ear or should I not pluck an ear? How should I do this? How short should I go on this particular breed? On and on and on. Those are questions that all of us get asked every day. A lot of us, and then we'll consult with each other. Well, what is that? What should we do? I figured I'd just get everybody together in a room, basically, and we're going to talk about what we do and what we all agree should be standard practices in grooming. And we wrote them all down and we published it in a first edition. I'm now working to get it in booklet form through Amazon, so even clients can purchase it or download it or do what they need to do. They're not to be, these standards are like the AHA for vet hospitals. Those are best practices for vet hospitals. They're not required to do them, but when you affiliate yourself with this certification, this AHA certification, that means that your veterinary practice is like in the top 20% of the world. Those practices are important. So when you want a best practices practice, you're going to look for their sticker. So I'm trying to normalize looking for that Master Groomer Council of Best Practices sticker on the door so that you can tell clients, hey, if you're going to move, 2 states over, look for somebody that has this sticker that shows that they adhere to best practices. Now, you don't have to adhere to every single best practice in there. There's nuances. Take what you want, and it's just like the science. Take the science that you can use in your practice and use it. It may have you twerking what you do a little bit, just tweaking it a little bit and saying, oh, instead of just shaving down a dog and not using conditioner, I'm going to shave it down and use a nice conditioner. Just that little thing, that little tweak can help that skin not be as smelly as soon after a bath. So just little things like that. The differences between who can vote or not. If you have any master certification, master esthetician, master groomer, master feline groomer, if you have achieved that level in your career of getting a master of something, then you have voting rights. So everybody can bring anything they want to the table. Anybody who's in the pet industry is welcome to join, and that's internationally as well. If you are in a different country and you speak English, because I don't speak a lot of languages, but if you speak English, you absolutely are invited to attend and put your standard on the floor to be debated. We use Oxford style debates, so there's really no arguing. It's not some argue fest. We're talking scientific standards. What's the best practice for that particular procedure? So once we say, okay, we agree with all the verbiage, then it goes to a vote, and all the masters are invited to vote on sections of verbiage. And once it gets accepted and voted in by the masters, it goes into the edition.
Okay.
So
how does someone become involved with that?
If you want, you can email me at Michelle at All Things Paw. And I will invite you. Right now it's basically through Facebook is the basis of that, although we do have a website in the works, but it's basically Facebook based, and then we use Zoom.
All right, what's the name of the Facebook group?
Well, you have to be invited. So if you send somebody who is a member, just send them a message and say, hey, I want to be a part of the Master Groomer Council. Then they send me a message and then we get them invited. I believe that anybody who is a member right now and in the group can invite anyone they wish to come in. As long as they're in the pet industry, they're allowed to come in.
Okay, very good.
Mhm.
Very interesting. Okay, so we're going to take a quick commercial break. And we're back. All right, so moving it along, one of the things I want to talk about is that we need more education in our industry. All right. We lag behind other industries in the amount of continuing education that is available to them.
Mm-hmm.
Back before I started Positive Ed, and part of the reason I started Positive Educational Training was because I found that I was taking a lot of my business programs and my tech programs, I was taking them in other industries, and it was easy to take them in other industries because it was abundantly available, but it was not abundantly available in our industry. In fact, there was nothing online at the time.
Right.
Okay. So, and it's nice to see that evolution of our industry becoming more accessible online, but we still need more of it. And everyone has a different perspective, right? So I had the very, very first salon sanitation program in the pet grooming industry, okay? And then Angie Coates and Karina Stanworthy came out with theirs, all right? So now there's 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
What? All 3 of them are excellent because I have taken Angie's and I have taken Karina's, and they are wonderful programs, okay? You will learn a lot regardless of which program you go in. There's different perspectives, of course, but you will learn a lot. And you know what? And if somebody else says, I'm going to do a salon sanitation, I'm going to say, go do it. Okay, because it's an important topic in our industry. And there's different ways to do different things. And when you see how other people do things, okay, it makes your program better. It makes their program better because you're networking and colleaguing with people rather than thinking that, oh my God, she's got a salon sanitation class too. You can't do that, No. And invite your colleagues in so that you make all of the programs better, regardless of who someone wants to take a class with.
I agree completely. Everybody should be allowed to teach what is their passion, because if they're passionate about it, you know, it's going to be a great class. You know, if somebody wants to do skin and coat, do it. Absolutely. I find that it's really better if you go in and look at every single instructor's skin and coat, if possible. Take as many courses as you can. You need to know what everybody's teaching, because again, I am a strong believer in standards. We have to have standards. Every other industry has standards. We have to have some type of baseline standards that are available and free, and you can see them. And this is what's agreed upon, which is why the council is so valuable. But absolutely, if an instructor of skin and coat wants to see my material, please, it's an open invitation. Please do. Let's have a meeting. Let's do it. Because I think that's important. If they don't know what I'm teaching and I don't know what they're teaching, you know, we could be overlapping. We could be teaching something that's erroneous. If we refuse to learn as instructors, we're going to do our students a disservice. So if we're just running the same old ground and teaching the same old stuff because we think we know it all, we're doing a disservice to ourselves and to our students. So if there's some young, fresh mind coming up teaching skin and coat, I want to see it. I want to see what's new. You know, I'm a little jaded. I've been teaching a lot of this material for a long time, but I know there's nuance. I know there's new science. I know there's new techniques and new products. You know, those are important to learn about.
So literally everything I teach, I'm taking somebody else's class as well.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's not in my industry. Sometimes it's in another industry. And you know what? Their perspective is a little bit different. And then I could see, how does that apply to the pet industry? Because you know what? We are our own industry. We have our own needs. So we're not carbon copies, and no industry is a carbon copy of any other industry.
Right.
So what works for one doesn't work for another. And I will absolutely take any program that someone is teaching on how to teach.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay.
I have a great example of that, Mary, actually.
Go ahead.
I learn all kinds of stuff about skin in the weirdest ways, simply because number one, I'm soaked in it. So I hear it when, you know, when it's said, I hear it and I'm like, hey, what did you just say? So my husband was taking a forensics class toward his degree. This was a while ago when he was still in school. He was taking a forensics class, and one of his assignments was to gather exotic hair to put in the database, the forensics database. And when I kind of went through the classes with him, because I'm helping him do his homework. He's completely blind. So I'm helping him stuff and I'm learning so much. And the one thing I learned from him taking that class was the way they distinguish different hairs to know if they're animal or human and what species they are. Not that they examine them under the microscope and match them to their database. They do that also. However, the way they tell is that animals have a really strong medulla, which is the inside of the hair, and humans don't really. It's broken. It's not as strongly shaped as in animals. And the only exception is the Asiatic ethnicities. They have a really strong medulla, but that's how forensics designates animal hair from human hair. And that was just a little tidbit, but I find thousands of them over the years. You just hear things. You go to different seminars. You go to something that's not even about skin and coat, and somebody's saying something about something, and you're like, hey, that's another piece I can add to my puzzle, you know, and makes a clearer picture for me. Listen everywhere, and not just in the pet industry. If Mary, you take classes outside of the industry, that's excellent. That's how you get that extra information.
Yep. And I notice your wall. So for those who are watching the YouTube, you can see it. So Michelle has a wall of diplomas behind her.
Yeah, quite a few. These are just some of them. These are the ones that matter to me. And a lot of others are like CE, continuing education credits and all that stuff. But these are solid seminars or diplomas that I've gotten over the years that were a stepping stone to where I'm at now. And each one of them just brought me farther and farther to my goal of being an instructor and being able to teach other people what I know. Every single one has a unique experience, a unique story. The things that I learned, it's just been incredible. It's been an incredible journey.
And it's part of the reason why I do enjoy going to trade shows, because, finding that class there that maybe I wouldn't have taken, but you know what, hey, I'm here.
Mhm.
And the only class I am missing, because the WPA keeps scheduling my pet first aid class at the same time this guy is teaching his salon sanitation class. There's a vet that they have in that comes in and does salon sanitation. I really want to take that class in the worst way.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
So sooner or later, I figure I'll get to it. But yeah, so always be aware to, like, and then I don't even look at it as being corrected. I look at it as learning something new that I didn't know before.
Mhm,
Things change, products come out that are awesome.
mhm.
You know what, if we didn't evolve as an industry, all right, we would still be grooming with that handheld clipper to
Mhm.
clip the hair and a pair of scissors and maybe a comb and a brush. That would be our grooming equipment.
Maybe a comb and a brush.
Okay?
Yeah.
That would be our grooming equipment. And
Mhm.
if you go back even further, probably, predating the whole handheld clipper thing, which probably was seen as a miracle at the time.
Mhm, mhm.
But one thing I do notice is that when things are turned up a little on its head, right, that we've done it this way, we've done it this way, we've done it this way, and then we're saying, yeah, you know what, that's not the best way to do it. All right.
Mhm.
New facts come out, new information comes out, and you learn that, oh, okay. And it doesn't make you a bad groomer that you were doing it up until that point, because that was the standard.
Absolutely. Mhm.
That's what we were taught, and there was nothing to contradict that this was not correct. All right. And then information comes to light, and you think, well, you know what, there's a better way of doing this. But
Mhm.
you get blowback. Well, I've been grooming for 7,000 years,
Mhm.
and we've never done it this way before.
Mhm.
All right. I can remember, and what ended up being an animal cruelty case. It was up in Canada. And it wasn't that the groomer was being cruel. It was what she thought was the correct way to do it, to
Mhm.
be kind to the animal.
Mhm.
Okay. There's a difference in mentality there.
Yes.
Basically, she had, and the owner was there, and the owner was fine with it. She had the legs, each of the paws was looped to an end, so that the cat was like spread eagle, and she could flip on both sides.
Mhm.
And people saw that and lost their minds. But
Mhm.
she thought that was how you do it.
Right.
And so, animal control in Canada got involved.
Holy cow.
Yeah, but the Professional Cat Groomers Association contacted them and said, this woman was simply needs education.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
So I don't know what was the outcome of that, but you know what, because you may have done something up to this point. Oh my God, if I look back, Michelle, if I go back to like my first days as a groomer and my first couple of months as a groomer, I would probably be mortified.
Oh,
I think-
I'm mortified nightly because I relive it. It's just so
Oh.
bad. The things that we've done, not knowing,
Wow.
and there are many, and they're just nuanced, just little things that you're like, oh, I would never do that now.
Yeah.
Because you learn, because you were open enough to
Mhm.
incorporate it into how you do things.
Exactly. All right. So there's always a learning. And if anyone who tells you they're right out of the gate, oh no, I'm perfect, I've always done things perfectly. Yeah, they're either delusional or they're lying.
Mm. Or they've only done one.
Or they've done one. And they've been grooming for 6 hours.
Exactly. Yes.
All right. So be open to new things. It's an evolving process, and we should all be growing and evolving and doing things better than we did the day before. And I think it was Maya Angelou who said, when you know better, you do better.
Absolutely.
I'm attributing the quote correctly.
Mhm.
Okay. So that said, do all the continuing education you can, and however it is, it's easier for you to do it. All right.
Mhm.
I run an online educational thing. So you know what? Yeah, I do the online stuff. Okay. It's easy. But I will also tell you, go do something live, go to a trade show. You know what? If going to a trade show is not feasible in your area, get together with your local area groomers, get somebody in. You know what? It's a phone call. It's a message on Facebook. Hey, can you come out to this tiny little town in the middle of nowhere? And what would it take to get you to come out here?
Another place to get education is contact your vet. If you're friends, they have all kinds of CE, and it might not even be on skin or grooming or anything else. Even if it's on something internal, you're surrounded by veterinarians and technicians. Ask questions. Sometimes you can just hear little conversations off in the distance and say, oh, I didn't know that, you know, and it leads you to go back home and get online and kind of research a little bit and find out how that fits in your practice.
Yeah.
I do that all the time. Mary, you do stuff outside. My husband and I, we're going to go see to our planetarium. Your science center is also a really good place for free seminars. We were going to see the stars of the pharaohs, right, at the planetarium. Well, before that, while we were waiting, there was a free lecture on bed bugs. So we step in and we're hearing all about bed bugs. So now I know the life cycle of a bed bug, but that applies because now I know what they look like. If I see a dog with bed bugs because they're traveling and they've stayed in a hotel, I know what that looks like now. And I never would have known had I not attended that lecture, because I wouldn't have sought that out on my own.
And that brings up another thing about networking with like professionals. All right. Your veterinarians, your vet techs, your pet sitters, your dog trainers. When I lived in Connecticut, I had a really good relationship with my veterinarian. Okay. Whereas conversation went in both directions. All right. I remember I get a phone call during lunchtime, and it was apparently the 5 vets during break, and they were having a discussion. Okay. Discussion was, do you tip the groomer? Okay. And they're like, you know what do we know? We're not groomers. Why don't we just ask Mary? Okay? And they did. And I'm like, yes, tip your groomer. Okay. You know, and then, well, how much do you tip the groomer? Well, okay, this was 10-ish years ago. Okay.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. So I'm like, you know, something in and around 20% if you like what they did. Okay. If they're extraordinary and you don't want to lose them, maybe more like 30%. You know, it depends. Did you ask them to do something out of the ordinary? All right. Or are you just happy with them? Okay. So yeah, so now there's a group of about 7 vets who now tip their groomer.
And tell their clients.
And tell their colleagues.
This dog's really well groomed. Did you tip your groomer? The way I handle tipping and questions about tipping, and of course, there's all kinds of perspectives on the subject. Tips are really nice, especially cash tips. They're great. However, it was a struggle for me to either ask for tips or I just put it in my price.
Yes.
I price out fairly that if I never get another tip as long as I live, I'm still being paid for my work fairly. And if you aim for that, I think if you never get a tip, it's going to be fine. When people say, oh, well, that client didn't tip me, I was like, it really doesn't bother me because I know I'm already getting the money I need from that pet and the time that I put into that.
Oh, yeah.
And that's fine. And then if I do get tips, I'm like, oh my God, this is so great. So,
yeah, you know what? Pricing your services accordingly to how you live. If you depend on tips,
right,
you do not price properly.
Correct. Right. If you're just hurting because you didn't get tips all week, then your prices need to go up. They need to go up. And I've had people do this too. Oh, that's really expensive. Well, you're cutting into your tip. I just tell them, oh, that's fine. That's fine because I'm being paid what I'm worth. That doesn't bother me. I'm not trying to undercut my tip, you know. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I've had that same statement said to me too. And I'm like, well, I don't depend on tips. My prices are so I can make a living,
right?
Plan for my retirement, go on vacation, take care of my family. Tip is just gravy on top of it.
Absolutely. That's what it should be. That's what it should be. It should be because the service was great and they want to reward you with a little tippy tip. That's it. But your price should be rock solid. It should be solid to pay your bills, you know, to take home the money you need from working those particular hours and doing that particular skill.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so continuing forward. So we covered all the business. Price accordingly, people. Okay. You are going to be so much happier, and you're going to have better clients when they appreciate you. And hold on, who's making a
pew? Hi,
pew there. All right. Okay. He's like, yeah, just checking out the noise. People woke me up. Oh gosh, so now where were we? Price accordingly. So we don't have enough educators in our field. So
I agree with that. We don't have enough people in our field, let alone educators to educate them in our field. Yeah.
Grooming should be taught in the trade schools, and it's not. Or there should be programs at community colleges, and that is few and far between.
Yes.
Okay. There's not enough schools, and you know what? It's to put together a school is not easy. It isn't. All right.
It's a torment. The paperwork is outrageous. The regulations that you have to go by are outrageous. You have to have a dedicated paperwork admin person to submit all these and keep them current, because if not, you're just falling down. I don't know how many schools of colleagues that I know that have tried to start a school and then just ended up, we can't do. The paperwork is enormous.
Yeah,
it's enormous.
So when I was helping Stephanie set up her school, before we even got started, you need to start the paperwork for your state.
Absolutely. It takes forever.
It takes forever to do it, so that the time you get the okay, all right, then you're maybe weeks and months away from opening, as opposed to 18 months away from opening.
Exactly. Then you're just sitting there in the water, still spending money, still needing income. It's ridiculous. Get it started.
So get it started. Before if you make that decision, the first thing you do is you contact your state Department of Education to get going on that paperwork. And if you're not sure what it is, go to a community college website. See the paperwork they have on their website. Yes. That's going to be a really good place to get an idea of what it is you're probably going to need. Right? Look what's on the website, because they're putting up on the website what they have to put up on the website. Right. Okay. So pay attention to that. If they have something downloadable as a catalog, download it. Look at the order in which they are doing things. And you want to do it within your state. So let's say you're in Illinois. All right. You want to look at a college or a community college in Illinois. Don't look at one in California. It has no bearing on it. In Illinois, and pay attention to what it is they're doing. That's going to give you at least a head start. Okay? Yeah, I agree with that. Also, it's good to look at any college's catalog, because the closer you can match your school curriculum and how you have it set up and categorized, the closer you can have it to actual academia that's already there, the easier it will be for them to say, oh, okay, this looks like something we're familiar with. If you just go in there with like an essay type, this is what I want to do, and this is how it's going to be, their mind will explode. They're paper pushers. They need things categorized how they're familiar. So if you familiarize yourself with a college catalog, basically it's 100 level, 200 level, 300 level, 400 level, and then 5 and 6 are like graduate courses. That's basically how we have them set up at the academy, because I wanted to start that layout so that people could familiarize themselves. The people who have been to like community college or taken some college courses are already familiar with that format. But a lot of groomers, haven't been to college, have never taken courses like that. They went through a trade school, or they were absolutely mentored by somebody and they became wonderful that way. And you can do it either way, absolutely. But if you're taking a college course or a course from a grooming school, it should have, I believe, in my opinion, it should have that same hierarchy of classes. That way, your school can be very easily identified
people who have been to college, people who admin the colleges and then go through all your paperwork can see, okay, they're serious, their paperwork's in order. I can see how everything's laid out. You'll get approved so much easier.
When I thought that I would make positive educational training a school in Washington, so I started all the paperwork, literally uploaded hundreds of pages,
Yes.
hundreds of hours that went into it. Okay, and paid the initial fees. And then when I finally got somebody on the phone, they're like, oh, you don't have any classes here that are more than 24 hours in length. No. Oh, you don't need to be a school in the state of Washington. You're fine.
That is so rude. No, we do need it. We need it.
You know, I was like, damn it.
They're looking for a semester worth for one course. That's
Yeah.
what they're looking for. Yeah.
You're looking.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, whatever. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a lot of time and effort that went into
Yeah.
and to get nowhere with it.
Yeah.
So
sans the fact that they don't see grooming as needing any kind of school anyway. It's just whatever. It's just cutting dog hair. It's just washing dog butt, whatever. They don't realize how technical it actually is.
yes. All right. So, but anyway, I don't want to actually teach grooming. I don't.
I don't want to teach grooming because I think there are so many good mentors and so many good classes out there to show you that perfect poodle trim, to show you that perfect Lhasa, whatever. There's even mentors that will help you show an animal and make it perfect. That's why I went into the skin and coat, number one, because it fascinates me. Number one, I was pre-vet at one time and was really into doing that. Found out I couldn't do any kind of a research because research is cold and cruel and objective and calculated. And I don't have the soul or the heart for that. I realize the importance of it. Don't get me wrong. I just can't do it. I can't do that. But skin and coat, man, I'm telling you, I'm soaked in it. I'm soaked in it and I love to learn about it. I love to teach about it. I love to talk about it. So that's kind of what I did. And I'm not stepping on any toes because I am not the one to teach you a continental. I'll tell you that right now. I'm not the one.
Yeah. Like, you want to learn how to do a Bichon trim? Don't contact me. Don't.
Right. There's so many little classes and DVDs and online material to show you how to make that perfect Bichon. I'm not that one.
Off the top of my head, I can recommend 10 people.
Yes.
And not even think about it. I can just rattle off 10 names
Yes.
really fast. And
Yes.
who could teach you way better than mine. Not mine. Yeah, no.
What I think is interesting that about the certifications that are available now, and there's many. The main three ones are the canine cosmetologist through Pam Lauritsen. Then you have National Dog Groomers Association. I think they gave that over to someone else, but it used to be Jeff Reynolds. And then there's IPG with Linda Easton. But then there's extra ones that are very new. I think the AKC has one. What is the PGC? Do I have the letters right?
Yeah, PGC is a standardized, sort of like the SAT or the ACT.
But what I thought's interesting is that they are starting to get on the bandwagon, because when I was coming up, all of the three main certifications, well, two of them, only dealt with breed trims. Only dealt with breed trims and a little bit of history. So now I see them really taking the bull by the horns, and they're adding skin and coat. Pam Lauritsen's always had skin and coat. She's had super coats, wonder coats. Oh my gosh, the coats. So yeah, she's was before her time when she developed all that stuff. But I see IPG now is expanding into more than just breed trims. And I think that's super important. I would love to see all the certifications have skin and coat, sanitation, holy cow. And all the things that all the peripheral people are trying to teach, because we see the value of it. You didn't hear even 5 years ago, don't mix up your shampoo bottles and leave the water in them. We knew it was wrong, but did we really practice it or preach it? Not really. And not a whole lot of people, until we started realizing, we're creating all these infections, so we really have to start doing our practices better. So yeah, expand.
Fortunately, what we do when I worked corporate is, at the end of the day, we would mix up the shampoo to get started the next morning. That was common practice.
Yeah, my first salon, we would fill all the mixing bottles up and put them in a pail, because in the morning we'd pour the hot water out of the tap into them and warm them up, and then we'd start bathing with it, and they'd sat there all night, not refrigerated, not nothing, and that's what most of us learned when we first start grooming, just, oh, it's shampoo, whatever. We don't think about it. Now I practice very differently, and I'm sure a lot of other people do too, but that was like a standard of practice.
When I went mobile in 2002, I had a bathing system. So I didn't premix anything anymore at that point.
Right.
But then the other issue became, was I really cleaning the recirculator properly at the end?
Yeah, that's a huge thing. Yeah, you have to clean out your thing that holds the shampoo, no matter what it is. If you can't crack it open and rinse it through, especially the recirculating, no, I can't. My brain can't wrap around it unless you're just putting, like some of the mixtures, they pull the shampoo, mix it with the water, and it goes on the pet. I don't have an issue with that, other than your lines are going to get gunky and you got to clean out your conditioners because they do build up. But the recirculating, and people are like, oh yeah, I just got a cheap recirculator. I just bought a pond pump, and they're recirculating dirty water from a dirty pet. What if that pet has an infection? You're putting it inside that recirculator. And unless you can crack open the case and clean it between pets, which is, I don't know anybody who has the time to do that and still make money. That's the only way I would use one. And I just can't.
Well, what I would do is that as I would run in between pets chlorhexidine shampoo, let it sit in the machine to the next appointment, and then rinse it out, because then it had the I guess correct contact time. But
and for people who don't know, chlorhexidine actually does have an antifungal component, although not as strong as the antibacterial. It is there, but it won't cover all fungus that we deal with all the time.
No, at the end of the day, that thing has to be cracked open and cleaned.
Yes.
And I'm going to do a shout out to Ashley Hanby for creating a video on how actually to do that.
Yeah, Ashley Hanby, that little mama's coming up. You look for her in the future. She is going to be producing some serious educational content in the later part of her career. She's already starting her catalog. She's pretty amazing.
Yes, she is. She's going to be doing that workshop for the Sanitation and Safety Summit, which I think is July. I think it's July. And she's going to be doing a skin and coat one with all you guys in June on doing skin and coat in a mobile van.
Yeah.
So yeah, watch for Ashley. It's not often we could just see someone going, I like to teach a class, and then watch them do it from that little baby kernel.
I know, right? So, you know what? I got something to say about this. Well, let's put it on a PowerPoint, lady. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. So give me some words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom. Oh, holy cow. I don't know. I don't even know anymore. Am I wise enough to give words of wisdom?
We always have something to say. A child has words of wisdom.
Let's see. Words of wisdom. Always use conditioner, even after medicated shampoo. I cannot stress this enough. I will have this put on my tombstone. I use conditioner even after a medicated bath. It does not interfere with whatever it did when it was soaking on the pet. Whatever good things that the medicated shampoo will do, it has already done by being applied and soaking in the proper soak time. However, after you rinse it off, put even a little bit of conditioner on all those sebaceous zones, the belly, the feet, the neck, the base of the tail, the face, the ears. Replace the oils that were washed away by bathing. It doesn't matter what you use. The only conditions where I would say, or the only times I would say don't do that, is when you're preparing for exhibition or show and you want that stand-up coat to stand out. But be aware that when those dry dogs, they're all combed up and teased up and hairsprayed, go home, it all gets broken down and they get put into oil and wrappers and everything else. So always use conditioner. I think that's probably my word of wisdom for my lifetime. Just do it.
Okay, we can't end up the podcast without at least touching on Pet Salon Rescue TV.
Oh yeah. We kind of tried to start that last year, but it was in the midst of a lot of
Lot of
shenanigans. But we have the backbone. We have the base for Pet Salon Rescue TV. It's a mutual dream of mine and Mary's. Absolutely. I would like to have the Traveling Groomers podcast. I'd actually like traveling instructors to go in and do a salon rescue, just like Tabitha's salon takeover, except without the hate and the anger and the yelling. We're there to help you. We're more like Queer Eye, but with groomers. We are trying to help you improve, not tear you down.
Yeah.
So we want to have, eventually, I would like to see teams in each state, so the travel time is down. So you have a team that visits you from your state to help you with your salon issues. So we have a website. We've got a little blurb in there. If you want to be an instructor in your state and travel to salons within your state, send me an application from the website, which is petsalonrescuetv.com. Is that it?
Hold on, I got to go search it.
I always get it wrong, and I send people to the wrong one. Then Mary's like, "That's not it, Michelle."
Pet Salon.
She's getting.
Yeah, I got to get the website up.
Yeah, she's getting the website up.
Pet Salon Rescue. Let's see what comes up.
I think it's petsalonrescuetv.com, maybe.
I don't know.
Here, let me see if I can pull it up myself.
Hold on.
Let's see.
On rescuetv.com.
It's petsalonrescue.com.
Okay. Yeah.
Petsalonrescue.com is what it is. Yes. So let's say that you need help with employee issues and sanitation issues, and those are your main concerns. Write in for that. We're going to send you people to help you with those things. We're going to send you experts in our field to help you with those things. Let's say you want to go high end, so you're looking for how to rearrange your salon in the space that you have, and whatever. Name your first 3 things that you're having trouble with, or you want to improve or change, and then we'll send people who know about that particular thing to your salon. We'll film it. We'll put it on an online TV so that people can learn from that. And not only that, you'll get help with your issue, and take your salon to the next level. So that's what we want to do. That's the plan anyway. And it is in its infancy right now, but we do have the base for it.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in that, please contact us through petsalonrescue.com. And we will get you an application, and we'll get you going. So we have several people that have given applications as instructors, and we've given a couple of people that are interested in having their salon be featured, basically. And let me remind you, it's all good. It's all love. There will be no yelling, no cursing, no telling you did it wrong. We're simply there to see what you're going through and then offer suggestions on how to improve. And that's our main focus. But we want to really highlight these salons that are going for it, that want that one improvement, that want to not be just run of the mill, pecking with the chickens. We're going to fly with the eagles. So that's what we're hoping for. We want to help you turn your salon into your dream salon.
Okay, cool. So on that note, Michelle, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to do this. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And everybody join us next week when I interview another woman making a difference in the pet industry.